2021. Originally in Spanish. What influence is there between human and extraterrestrial culture?
Although you can see clear differences, as there would be between any different cultures, something that is mostly ignored on Earth at least, is that between cultures in space, between different planets, where the members of those cultures share with each other as starseeds, you have a very large cultural influence between them. Starseeds are not a phenomenon exclusive to Earth. It is something very common throughout the galaxy, that a soul or Atma, or group of them, migrate from culture to culture incarnating there. In some New Age circles on Earth, they are known as wanderers. So, a soul or group of souls will incarnate on a planet with various life cycles, from one to several, and then later on will be born incarnating on another planet and culture that is to their liking, taking with them ideas and concepts from one culture to another. It may be done consciously, but mostly it is unconscious. Thus, we will then have the appearance of the same ideas in various places, seemingly without any connection whatsoever. This, in addition to the most obvious mechanism of cross-cultural influence that is used, interstellar spacecraft star travel, with exploration groups that will then adopt ideas and concepts from the culture they are studying, or with which they have a relationship or contact of any kind. The main concept here that needs to be understood very clearly is that the physical form you call human being is by no means exclusive to Earth, as it is found in countless places throughout the galaxy, and it is strongly suspected that it is similarly found in other galaxies as well, being a very prolific and popular physical form for souls. The human form varies, from races that are exactly like humans, to races that have nothing in common with humans, neither in form nor in biology, and all the range in between those two extremes. Then, we will find a gradient between star races like humans but on other planets, and from there will be other races that will gradually become different from humans until they merge among the races that no longer have human form. Taking into account that the universe, what is the norm is life, and there are billions of stellar races. Life in the universe is the norm and not the exception. And at what levels is that influence seen? The influence ranges from little to total, being that, in and of itself, societies share basically the same at a level of influence, and that is very difficult for the modern ufology scholar to comprehend. The influence is similar or of the same nature as between cultures on Earth at the end of the 20th century. That is almost total. This mostly among cultures with historical contact with Earth, such as the Engans, Alfretans, Antarians and Tegatans, among others, being the most human-like. The idea that you are isolated in space, and that the distances between planets are very large, and that it has not even been proven that there is extraterrestrial life outside the Earth, is a purely human concept.
Do Taygetan relationships last for 950 years, or do they change several times in a lifetime? In general, is it rare for them to last?
Generally, they last not only for the whole incarnation, or the whole life, but many times a love relationship between Tegatans can last several incarnations, because they look for each other again during the next incarnation by remembering 2 or more past lives.
How common are martial arts in extraterrestrial cultures? Who invented them?
Martial arts are common in virtually all ARIEN, or star-human cultures. Because they are so common and ancient, it is impossible to know who invented them. And on Earth, you have many versions and interpretations of martial arts as found elsewhere.
If they had electricity in ancient times, why are there no technological remnants of daily use from that time?
Yes, archaeological traces are found in many places. Egypt, Mesopotamia, Sumeria, Turkey, Ireland, Romania, among others. There are traces, they are called upart, objects out of their time. It must also be seen that the Cabal wishes at all costs to erase the real history. So they will dedicate themselves and have dedicated themselves for centuries to destroy and hide high technology all over the planet.
What is the most typical Taigetan tradition that Earth has acquired over the centuries through your influence?
Druidic culture would be the greatest influence, destroyed almost completely, thanks to the Romans under the command of General Vespasian. Naming only one major point of influence.
Are there any Orma customs or traditions here on Earth influenced by them?
There is a strong Orma influence on Egypt, Sumer, Rome, and Greece, seen most obviously in architecture.
Are there races that insert music on Earth from ships and create artists or profiles so as not to arouse suspicion?
That is correct and very common. It's true. That's happening en masse right now. It's always happened, but today it's more accentuated. The cultural influence of art and music is very strong.
Do Taigetans feel attachment to their children?
A lot of attachment to their children, and it extends through incarnations, being that they always look for each other among families of souls, reincarnating again as a family. In Tayegida, the family is very united, more than in other cultures.
What are the most important legacies left to us by the civilizations of Lemuria, Atlantis, influenced both materially and immaterially?
Lemuria has left an influence that they have been trying to destroy for centuries, which is the holistic-based societies of true equality. And Atlantis has left, generalizing, what are the seeds of modern society on Earth, which is the Western world.
In what other interstellar civilizations have you been of great cultural influence? And if so, what kind of influence?
We have been a great influence on all of the M45 Pleiades, on the Orma society, the human, the Antarian, the Alphertan, the Arcturian, and the Andromedan, among the known ones.
Is Earth the place where the greatest variety of races incarnate? Are there other similar places? Or is this varied mixture very common in the universe?
It is a universal constant that the starseeds of all races travel and reincarnate everywhere in the universe, being truly cosmic and not from any one place in particular. They are all the sources, but on Earth there is a variety of starseeds of different races, of a particularly high number and variety.
What have the Charistus influenced?
Charistus have influenced a lot, with a prolonged and insistent attempt to guide the earthly religions towards something positive, trying to neutralize the negative or regressive use of the manipulative creators of those religions. Charistus are an especially positive and loving race, but they are known to be warriors.
Has Taygeta acquired any Earth customs or traditions?
Yes, it has acquired many Earth customs. Difficult to number them, but I can mention architecture. However, a lot of Earth architecture again is not from there, being very Orma. For example, in many places of antiquity. As for customs, for example, celebrating birthdays and the consumption of cake has been adopted, being that in Tayegida it is difficult to calculate the age of a person. Also, a lot of human influence with music.
Do Taygetans fast only on liquids, and for how long?
Taygetans do practice fasting. However, how long each one lasts is difficult to calculate, but one could say that one regularly skips a day without eating. And another important point is that we have the habit of eating only twice a day, sometimes only once a day.
The CDs, DVDs, and fiber optics, that technology, did you say it came from the Ummites? Was it by the influence of the starseeds? Or was it by their intervention directly?
That is true. That is mostly Omo technology, and it's from direct introduction.
If there is nothing other than source, why is it considered outside intervention for an interstellar race to contact a less advanced race, when both are ideas from the same mind?
Everything is of a source, including rules such as those designed for respectful coexistence between civilizations. However, those laws are imperfect, and generally, they end up being an unfair impediment rather than a rule for observing respect. In itself, the fact that there is conflict in general is the concept that arises from the main idea of being the source and what is not the source, being that everything in reality, unified, is the source. So, duality, to be or not to be something, to be or not to be the source, turns out to be only the consequence of an idea or thought that is relative to someone who observes it or considers it true, and not a universal constant.
The great artists who have reincarnated on Earth, are their works recognized worldwide? Is art also like that on other planets where they go?
They also have influence on other planets. Either they were there before incarnating on Earth, or their souls will go there after being on Earth, since every incarnation progressively enriches the experience and wisdom of the souls.
How many extraterrestrial races visit Earth assiduously today?
Countless races visit the Earth. So many that even from here it is impossible to enumerate them, but even so, the ones that have been and continue to be here today are mainly those of the Federation. The most notable being Orma, Andromeda, Arcturians, Sirians, Pleiadians, in all their forms, Alpha Dracos, Antarians, Centauri, which are the Alpha Taans, the Proteonians, Zeta Reticulians, Etorthan, Sasani, Yale, among others.
At some point in the evolution of your race, were you on the verge of collapse? If so, how did you overcome it?
In the beginning, Taygeta was on the verge of collapse during the Great Expansion because of the ARIEN Wars. However, since then, and with the adoption of the holistic legal system, there has not been a single incident of danger of planetary collapse.
Annika, what idea does the Taygetan population in general have about reincarnating on Earth?
The Taygeta population, compared to other cultures, is more aware of what is happening on Earth. At this time, they avoid incarnating, or do not recommend incarnating on Earth, being more popular to be on Earth only in immersions of temporary character for almost entertainment purposes, without them being long immersions that last a lifetime.
Was Tesla human? Starseed? Where did his knowledge come from? Akashic record transmitted by stellars?
Tesla was a starseed, but there is conflict as to his stellar identity. Most say he was Arcturian in soul, but others differ. It is not known. Tesla, as a starseed, had near or full memory, which allowed him to import his knowledge to Earth. And besides that, Tesla also had contact with extraterrestrials of various Federation races, mainly Arcturians.
Annika, what Taygetan influence is there in Earth art? For example, in painting?
Taygeta's influence in art is mostly appreciated in the creations of the American Indians, Inuit, and in the area of Romania and Ukraine. Also diluted all over the world, but mainly in those places or with those cultures.
Hello, Annika. Thank you for your dedication. Where did the internet come from, and for what purpose was it implemented?
The Internet is a copy of a concept that is used among the star races of the Federation. It is where, in theory, all the knowledge of a people is dumped with a view to it being, or becoming, available to all members of that race, and by members of friendly races of the Federation, as a free information superhighway. On Earth, it was sold to the population for that purpose. But in reality, the purpose of giving the Internet to the human population is for the total population control, to constantly monitor what they do and even what they think, in a way in which they implement mental programs that humans will follow as trends, thanks to their tendency to seek the approval of their peers.
Is physical beauty highly appreciated here and in Taygeta? Also, in all cultures with humanomorphic bodies?
Good question that I want to use to share with you that the Western concept of beauty is of Taygetan origin, be it for better or for worse. However, there is no disqualification in Taygeta for people who do not meet those expectations. That would be a human-programmed reaction. Beauty is indeed considered and appreciated in a myriad of races and cultures. However, each race will have its own concept of beauty, as is to be expected, and that is in keeping with its physique and appearance.
Aneka, do you believe that there is purpose on Gaia in which non-emotional incarnating races interact with Illyrians to understand precisely the emotional energies?
Yes, definitely. The non-emotional races try to understand the wisdom of emotions by being human for 1 or 2 incarnations, in an attempt to expand their knowledge. However, in the process, they end up harming countless other races incarnated there as humans, and harming the other emotional non-human races. But definitely, the cooler, more logical races do try to understand emotions, using Earth as a laboratory.
Greetings, Aneka. How has that 3D matrix influenced human sexuality? Does it drain us of energy?
The controllers of the human matrix, the Cabal, have turned something loving, part of the process of connecting with a partner and being loved, into something of manipulative use and producing emotional pain and frustration. The influence has been very great and negative, confusing the population with a view to total control.
Tiahuanaco, south of Lake Titicaca. Was it influenced by some extraterrestrial race? The Incas said it was already in ruins when they arrived. What became of them?
Tiahuanaco was part of the planetary civilization of Atlantis. What became of them is the same as what became of the Atlanteans. The civilization ended after a long war against Lemuria and the non-human races that supported it, ending with the Tiamat Wars, where Mars was also devastated. Human archaeological dating is seriously flawed. They should stop using carbon-14 and geological strata dating systems, as both give false results.
Aneka, greetings. What influence did the Engen have on the Viking culture?
The influence is total. Virtually, the whole Viking culture is a humanized version of the Engen culture, being that the human form, or version, is the one related to the criminal part of the Vikings, and the positive part is the Engen influence, like their need for exploration.
Is there any cross-cultural influence between Venus and Earth? And if so, what influences? Strong hug.
Influence between Venus and Earth is a topic that deserves a whole video, being that the fact that Venus is seen as a planet of sulfuric acid impossible for life is totally false, because Earth science only observes the 3D part of Venus. It is missing 40%. Venus is a super habitable planet with a culture very similar to the terrestrial one. and today it has merged to be almost the same. It is a Venusian version of Western culture, leaving aside almost in total destruction the indigenous cultures of the place. This after the human invasion of Venus between 1965 and 1972.
Who gave or influenced Taygeta in the high technology of the fighter ships, or Suzy?
The Suzy-type fighter craft are the latest version of Taygeta's small craft technology. They have ARIEN influence, but are mostly Taygetan and Taygetan technology. Interestingly enough, the Suzy-type ships were designed, created, and manufactured entirely by women. They are 100% female-created ships.
Are there sentimental relationships between races of different species? Here on Earth, are our partners from other star races, or do we only look for our own race?
Yes, love relationships do occur between individuals of different species, but between those that are to some extent compatible, being visibly similar or equal races. Although they do not always result in having children, and sometimes their offspring are sterile. This is uncommon, but relationships between similar species do occur. On Earth, between starseeds, relationships are sought mostly between souls of the same race. That as a generality. But it does happen that starseeds of different star races come together, because on Earth they are also playing the role of being human beings.
Whose gastronomic influence is meat consumption?
Some Lyrian human races need to eat meat more than others. The habit of eating meat does not come from reptilians or regressive races. Food is a very complex issue. There are no simple answers. Today, most consume tissue, or cultivated meat, that was never an animal, but this has nothing to do with the versions of synthetic meat that is coming out on Earth that I definitely do not recommend consuming.
How do you recognize an extraterrestrial incarnated in a human? Are there any signs?
Sometimes their physique is obviously strange, but usually only that person knows what they are. You can find the non-human genetic origin with a DNA test, as in PCR testing.
Are scientists, inventors, and other people mentally influenced by people from outside Earth so that they can access new ideas to advance humanity?
Yes, this is done as a result of prenatal agreements. Yes, there is a great telepathic influence and transmission of ideas, concepts and information in general on humans, be they scientists or artists, and the general population. The telepathic communication is mistaken for the very ideas of the person. Extraterrestrials communicate with humans all the time telepathically, but humans do not know how to distinguish such communications from their own thoughts.
Is the Sirius race emotional? And why is it so popular on Earth?
Yes, the Sirian races, including those of Sirian reptilian origin, are emotional. They are among the emotional races. Sirian starseeds are very common on Earth, and this since ancient time.
What is the strongest Andromedan influence we can find on Earth today?
The strongest Andromedan influence on Earth is found in the culture of India, Nepal, Burma, Thailand, and Vietnam.
If you have adopted the cake for birthdays, do you put candles on it according to the years as well?
Yes, we have adopted the use of candles in the cakes, but many times we only put symbolic candles and not one for each year, because most of the time we do not know how many years the person is celebrating.
Thank you very much for everything. What do you consider to be the greatest influence that the Taigetans leave on Earth with this disclosure?
Sowing the seed that human beings are not alone, and that they were not created on Earth, and that there are many more like them outside the Earth, and they are part of a big family. They are not inferior, not superior, but more of us, that there is much more humanity out there. I send my best wishes to all of you, and thank you very much for joining us here today. Be strong and believe in yourselves always. A hug and a kiss to all of you. I wish I could answer all the questions. It is just impossible for me. Thank you again.